This is a turn donk bet. And the verdict on it is... it is not a thing. God, I just hate it when I do stuff that's not a thing. It makes me so upset because all I'm really trying to do with my life is do things. I'm trying to do things that the GTO lizard is going to approve of, but it hates this. It absolutely hates this. Look, there is no donk betting on this card for big blind against cutoff. It's not a thing, as you can see. You can look at your hand here, the queen three of diamonds. It's always checking. The EV loss is not particularly high, but yeah, it hates it. It's passed judgment upon me here, and I am not worthy.
Yes, you made a terribly awful play.
But what if I can justify it? No. Better yet. What if it's actually a great play? What if it's actually great? Just bear with me a second here. Let me try to convince you. This hand was played against a recreational player. Didn't know much about them, but they seemed to be like not super loose pre-flop, but also slightly splashy type looking player. And we call queen three, as one does in the big blind against min, because of course you need to see a flop with queen three of diamonds. And we call the flop, and we lead the turn. And then villain calls the turn, and then we lead the river as well, and then villain calls the river, all with jack 10 of hearts. So I don't want to be results oriented because that's not cool. We all know that. That's not a good way to think about the game. But this worked out really, really well, guys, huh? Didn't it? Didn't it work out really, really well? You see? I was right. No, that's not how it works. But let me make a case for this. Because on the turn, the solver is going to be betting here far more often than a human is, with two types of hands, with value bets and with bluffs. Which brings us to the first Carrot Man's rule of today's video. Humans freak the hell out on flush card turns, especially if they're also paired turns. So the willingness for villain to bluff here with hands that do not contain a diamond is going to be very low. The propensity for them to bluff with hands that do contain a diamond is probably still less than it is in GTO. And the propensity for them to value bet thinly with things like top pair here, which also gain denial, is going to be low. So basically, the bet frequency that you see from a human in a spot like this in the solver is going to be quite high. The solver, when checked to on the turn here, is going to be betting around 45% of the time. It's almost half the time. How often do you think people check back this spot in your pool? That's right, it's going to be like 2/3 of the time. Something like that. I'm making up numbers here. Can I prove it? Do I have empirical evidence for your claims? No. Well, not right here on the screen. I probably could find that somewhere, but no, it's not the point. The point is that if you just play a little bit of poker, like you don't even have to play poker for very long in games like you guys are playing, right? Let's just take 50 NL, it's like an average stake that you guys play. You don't even have to play many hands in that pool before you realize that people check back a turn card like this a lot, and you do that too, right? Probably you under aggress on this turn card. It's a natural thing to do. I probably under aggress on this turn card too, because it's just super easy to fall into that trap. Because if you look at some of the hands that should be betting here, for value, first of all, right? Jacks and 10s, very, very, very frequent. 10x, like ace 10, king 10, pretty damn frequent, even though it's just top pair. And then if we look at some of the hands that should be bluffing this node, there's some really weird ones in there, like the queen jack suited without the diamond that's just betting because it has overcards, king queen suited without, king jack suited without, basically naked overcard hands. So it doesn't really cut it to just bet here with a big diamond in your hand. Like, yes, you can do that, but if you only bluff the obvious hands like the ace of diamonds, queen x, you're going to be under bluffing. So I know that when I get to a turn spot against a weaker player, that they're going to be checking this card back really, really often. And what that does is it piques my interest. It makes me consider other options. And, you know, last time we talked about solver slavery and just not being not forcing yourself to play in the way that's expected of you if you're trying to mirror the GTO lizard. Like, that's not what it's about. What we're really trying to do here in a hand like this is we're trying to switch our mental faculties on when we land on the turn. We're trying to drag ourselves away from that very ingrained mental circuit of just checking routinely here. And we're trying to awaken some sort of curiosity within that is simply going to pose a question. And that question could just simply be, how ridiculous would it be to donk bet here in theory? Okay, it's not a thing, but it's not like hemorrhaging tons of money. It's not like folding jacks on the cutoff pre-flop. That's not the kind of mistake we're talking about here. It's a very small mistake in terms of EV at equilibrium, and therefore, even though it never happens at equilibrium, it should be considered in real life at some point. If anybody, by the way, decides to say in the comments, what are your bluffs and what's your balance in this spot and how are you constructing your range? Again, you've missed the damn point of every video I've put out in like the last year probably, because the whole purpose here is to maximize the EV of Queen 3 of Diamonds right now against this specific recreational player and the way they're likely playing their range based on how the population of recreationals plays their range. And to do that, we're just going to bet this hand. I don't care. I don't care what the rest of my range looks like. I don't care where my bluffs are coming from, or if we're leading this, are we not leading all our flushes? I don't care. My range is not a thing. I don't care about it. I care about this being better than checking, because I'm just confident that it is, right? So the first thing about building donk bets into your game, exploitatively, is that you should donk bet for value in spots where the population is playing fit or fold on the turn, right? That's usually going to be scary cards, flushed cards, messy boards, stuff that pairs the board. People freak out about that, even though it does make it less likely to actually have a 6 here when a 6 comes. And potentially just cards that are perceived to be good for the flop caller's range. Now, the theory side of this is that you should actually donk bet some turn cards, right? Not this one, because this is 3 flush, but if you had like an offsuit 6 come here, that could actually be licensed to start donk betting, because the shift in nut advantage is pretty extreme. So I'll give you another rule just while we're at it. If a turn card shifts nut advantage in favor of the flop caller will often bet, in theory. That's the type of donk betting that is a thing, right? Now on the river here, just to finish this hand up before we move on, I think we have a very easy value bet. You could discuss sizing. I think my hand is worth something close to pot. For sizing, it's possibly worth more, but paired board, non-nut flush, overcard to a 10 comes. I'm really trying to get called by kings or aces or queen 10, or maybe even just like a very sticky, stationy jack 10. So when the players in your pool are capable of this kind of egregious river call, I think this is a pretty bad river call. And when the people in your pool are capable of this, letting the pot stagnate on the turn is kind of a disaster, right? And it just will stagnate very, very often. The other thing here is that if you check the turn and face some sort of big bet, do you really want to check raise the queen high flush against their cagey strategy? Like, maybe, but it feels really, really thin, right? Especially by the time you've check raised it and then bombed the river and then got called. How are you feeling there? Not fantastic, right? So very often, and this is a thing in GTO as well, by the way, when you have a hand that likes investing against a calling range, but doesn't like investing against a bet calling range, right, by check raising, then you might just lead the hand instead of check raising. Check call is another option, but that sucks. Like, it sucks so massively because people are under bluffing turn and river hard at low stakes on this sort of board, right? Don't believe me? That's fine. You should just believe me. You just should, okay? You just should. I really like this hand. I think this is a key hand. I think it illustrates a lot of stuff. Let's look at another one, though. We have the 69 of hearts. This is a very special hand to me. 69 of hearts. And we go for a call in the big blind. The flop is 7-9 deuce. We go for a call of a big bet. Generally, when I see a big bet from a low stakes pool, if you guys are playing 25NL and you see a big bet on the flop, there are a few options. Option A, your opponent is a GTO beast that is crafting a well-balanced, completely honed, tailored big bet strategy. Option B, they're equity driven. Which is more likely? Fingers on the keypads, vote now. If you voted option A, get the hell out of here. If you voted option B, congratulations. This is going to be more equity driven. People are betting, yeah, Jack 10, sure, like this. Are they finding the King 6 bluffs here enough? Probably not, right? That's the thing. So this is equity driven. When I see this at lower stakes, what I'm going to do is tell my students to be cagey. Don't raise as much as a bluff. Don't use the low EV bluff raises the solver is using. Fold the hands that are indifferent between call and fold, and maybe even the ones that are winning slightly. Of course, we're still calling the 6 and 9 of hearts here, but that's the kind of adjustment you want to make. The 9 of diamonds comes on the turn. This one actually is almost a thing. Man, I'm really improving at poker. Like, I used to do stuff that was like, yeah, hey dad, yeah, I just wanted to call you and let you know that I'm improving in life. Yeah. No, I used to do stuff that was not a thing, and now I do stuff that's almost a thing. Yeah, I thought you'd be proud of me. Yeah, thanks, Dad. Yeah, okay, bye. So yeah, we're on the up. Solver actually leads here with better 9x quite a lot. It does sort of agree that this is a nut advantage shifting card, especially after big bet, because what big bet's going to do, although there will be some 9x in there, the bad 9x won't really be in there as much. And this is in theory, by the way, right? People do all sorts of stuff in real life. And what will be in there very, very often is overpairs, right? For value. So like villains' value betting range shifts more towards overpairs than if it's a half pot bet, right? When they go this sizing. So you're going to look at like jacks, queens, kings, aces, tens, that sort of thing a lot. So when villain has a bunch of very good but not nutted hands that might just like check back the turn of the river, or might not pay you off on this particular turn if you check raise, leading, and then leading the river, again, is a pretty good idea. Kind of surprised not to get paid on the river here, because like a lot of low stakes players are just bad at folding once they play this way. So, you know, while we're playing these hands and we're trying to like hard exploit people, yeah, we do expect people to make calls like that Jack 10, bad calls like that. This one, unfortunately, we don't get paid on the river. Again, I think our hand is worth something, you know, very big, perhaps not an overbet here, perhaps an overbet here, I don't know, but certainly like something close to pot for sure. And one more hand to look at today, which is this Jack 10. This is a different kettle of fish, guys. Different situation. We call, and this one is again kind of exploitative. Maybe it's theoretical, I don't know. Probably it's not theoretical. But here's the deal. Here's the rule for you. On extremely alarming runouts, people will usually underbluff. Therefore, you don't really want to check your good hands when people are underbluffing. When you check the river, where you could have bet, even if that bet would be a donk bet, you are to some extent relying on people bluffing you. Because if they have a hand they would a value bet, the chances are they're investing if you bet. Also, the hands that invest by betting but not by calling your bet are air, right? So when you get to a spot like this, where you call the flop, you call the turn reluctantly, very reluctantly here. This is a pretty underbluff spot, the 9 turn, and just I think people are just probably a bit too strong here from cutoff specifically. When they bet here, maybe in like small blind button, they're bluffing enough, but yeah. Then we hit this river. What's really happening here? Villain has a set, 2 pair, some straight, sure. Very few air hands. I think they're already underbluffing from turn. If they do have an air hand, what would that even look like? I don't know, like ace 4, ace 5 of diamonds, let's say 7, 8 of diamonds. How likely are they to bet the 4 straight river as a bluff? Very unlikely at low stakes, right? Even at mid stakes as well. Just people aren't bluffing enough here. So you should just lead. And you can't lead big, right? Because if you start leading too big, you just only get called by a chop, and it's kind of pointless unless your opponent is an absolute behemoth whale. But if your opponent is just a normal fish or normal reg, or just like someone with like a part of a brain, like maybe someone that has like 3% of a brain or more, you know, they're not really going to be calling overbets here with sub 10x hands. So we just go smallish, and the idea is just eke out a bit of money from 2 pair, from crying calling aces, from ace king that can't fold because it's ace king, this sort of thing. You know, I've been pretty obnoxious in this video, guys. I'm in that kind of mood today, but I hope I've got the point across that donk betting is really, really good. It's massively underdone. People are not doing it enough. It's mostly an exploitative phenomenon. It does happen sometimes in theory. It is a thing sometimes in theory, but there are many times where it's not a thing in theory, where it should be in real life. And like anything else in exploitative poker, the more you ask yourself, could this just be a spot where donk betting is right? That's going to put it on your radar. And until things are on your radar, it's going to be hard to know what to do. If you want to get lots more exploits on your radar, definitely check out Cash Injection at Carrot Corner. It is a quick fix 10 episode, fairly cheap course that will just get a bunch of good pool exploits into your game easily. And yeah, check out carrotcorner.com, but we'll be bringing you more content like this. If you like this format, you like the new stuff, you like the snappy, flashy, to the point, higher editing productions, you know what to do. Tell us in the comments, hit the like button, help the algorithm understand that this content is good. Because I think it is. I think it's better. It's a step up. Not just improving in copying solver and doing things that are nearly a thing. Hopefully, we're also improving at YouTube. See you next time. Get out here. Much love and run good. Bye bye.